Welcome back, all my 40K fanatics out there, and here is part 2 for my cronies going into all of the Necron character data sheets. If you guys didn't see my first video that I put out, I talked about the army rules, all the stratagems, and the enhancements, and what we're looking at going into 10th edition with datasheet releases. And in this one, I'm going to cover the characters. I'm also going to be covering vehicles and infantry in a separate video. This one is just for the characters. Now, with this video, as all the others, I'm going to be talking about this with other data sheets included and other abilities and those things and such, because I want to make sure that I give you, try and give more comprehensive data behind what we're looking at so we can start this conversation. Please comment down below, subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications if you haven't already. And we're going to let's crack this code. Let's crack this code with Necrons. Got the point sheet here. I got a second printing of everything. So if during this conversation while I'm recording it, if something I want to look at and something I want to consider and wondering about stats and stuff like that, I can kind of flip through it and tell you at this time. There's a lot of data coming through right now and a lot of information, and doing my best to get this memorized and get all these things memorized. So there might be some things I catch and get wrong. Let me know in the comment section. There might be different combos or stronger ones. Let me know in the comment section. And as well, with the data sheets and everything, there might be a rule that I just completely get misinterpret. Let me know in the comment section. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about characters. So the first one that we get onto is the one that we were teased. We'd seen it a bunch of places, got leaked all. I think it was a photo from a game. Emotech the Stormlord. Emotech Stormlord is a kind of the basic Overlord profile that we're going to see through most of these characters, with 5 wounds, 2 up save, strength 5, toughness 5, and a 5-inch move. He is a noble. He is an epic hero, so no enhancements for him. And he has, his weapons are not what you're taking him for. His Staff of the Destroyers is basically a Staff of Light, except with a 2 damage, and I think additional AP. I think it's AP 2 on the regular staff. And then in combat, same thing. Extra damage, extra AP, extra strength. Staff is 5, and the devastating wounds. So not really, I'm pretty sure it's 5. Not really too much to write home from there. He hits on 2s. He also has the Gauntlet of Fire, which is ignores cover torrent with a 12-inch range, D6 attacks, and strength 5, AP 1, 1 damage. So not a bad weapon, not bad weapons at all, but this isn't what you're taking him for. So he does have a 4-up invuln, cool, good, especially with precision weapons out there, and he is Grand Strategist. At this start of your command phase, when this model's on the battlefield, you gain 1 command point. Cool. Very easy. It just gives you that extra command point going into it just by taking him. Then he also has the Lord of Storms. Excuse me. Once per battle, at the end of your command phase, this model can use its ability. If it does so, roll 1d6, and each enemy unit within 12 inches of the model on a 2 through 5 suffers D3 mortals, and on a 6 suffers D3 plus 3. So that's a pretty cool ability, and I think that it's right now being underestimated on how good that actually is, to be able to put on a unit, put him out there, take him there, take him with a squad of immortals, take him in the immortals and just tuck him back over on a point, keep generating, and then your opponent tries to sneak in there and steal your objective from you, and in the way of just having too much on it to take something from home field or take something from you, pop that in your command phase and do some extra mortal wounds to all these units before and possibly pick them up, be able to clear that stuff out of there quicker. I think that actually has some play. I really think Emotech might have some play, and he's one that I'm actually considering as far as epic heroes go. Units he can go into: Immortals, Lichguard, Necron Warriors. You're going to hear that a lot, basically the foot characters can only go into those 3 units, and some are restricted that they can't even go into all 3 of them. Here we are, the Orkin Man. Orkin the Diviner. It's amazing that we're just 2 data sheets in. This guy is, if you don't have him, pick him up. He is going to be in so many lists in so many ways, so versatile, probably an auto include, honestly. First of all, this dude is only 80 points. And just to start this off, because I didn't actually mention in there too, Emotech, because I don't know him offhand. I'm curious. So to get an extra command point and the explosion ability, you're looking at 105 points on him. Okay, so he's a little more pricey than the Overlord. That yeah, Overlord's only 85, so that might come into play here. Orkan the Diviner is 80 points. What do you get for 80 points? Well, you get a 4-up invuln and a bomb. So he's a Cryptek, so he doesn't take your Overlord spot, so you can still get your Resurrection Orb with him in a squad. He is a Cryptek, so you're able to get 2 Crypt Thralls, which big thing of Necrons. Crypt Thralls, Crypt Thralls, Crypt Thralls. You take a Cryptek, you can get 2 Crypt Thralls because of it. You put them with them. It's just extra bodies, extra wounds, and a feel no pain and a 3-up save for things like Necron Warriors. I really like them. Regardless, looking over this guy. So he's Master Chronomancer, so while he's leading a unit, they get a 4-up invulnerable save. Real simple. Necron Warriors, 20-man, 4-up invuln. Lich Guard with the spears, with the glaives. So now they have a 4-up invuln as well. That's huge value on him. Huge value on him. Then he has the ability the stars are alarm right, and this is his bomb. So once per battle at the start of your fight phase, this model can use his ability. If it does, until the end of that phase, triple the attacks, the strength characteristic, and all of the wounds crit count. All hits count. Every successful wound roll that is made counts as a critical hit. Staff of Tomorrow has devastating wounds. So this means his 2 attacks then go to 6 attacks. Still has the weapon skill of 3. Strength 4 now becomes Strength 12, -3 for D3 damage. So he basically once per game can go, bam, 6 attacks. Every one of these that wounds you is mortal wounds. That's a cool hit. That's a cool random hit to just come off him once per game. Do believe he's going to be an auto include. He also has a 4-up invuln, and again, the units that he can join: Immortals, Lich Guard, and Necron Warriors. Now, one thing with the Crypteks is the Crypteks kind of play the lieutenant role for us that lieutenants play for Space Marines. You can have a Royal Warden or a Noble in a unit and still include the Cryptek. So this Cryptek specifically, or all the Crypteks really. So he can go in there and you still get your Resurrection Orb and other abilities. So keep that in mind when we get down to the other 4 Crypteks, that they're basically the lieutenants that can also be added on. All right, Anakar the Traveler. So Anakar the Traveler is interesting. At first glance with him, I kind of walked past him because of the units that it can be attached to. So with his abilities, remember, he can only go with Immortals. That's the only unit that he can lead. He's got Tachyon Arrow, Strength 16, -5, D6 plus 2 damage, 1 shot. Then he has his War Scythe, which is a devastating wound, Strength 8, AP3, 2 damage for 4 attacks hitting on 2s. Not a bad weapon, but again, with most of the Necron characters, that's not what we're going to be taking them for. It's just that weapon. So looking over at his abilities, because again, remember, these are epic heroes, so we can't take enhancements. So we don't want to load up on epic heroes. We need to make sure we keep some regular heroes in there. Or heroes, regular overlords and lords. So while this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll. Very cool, very powerful ability. So with the Immortals having like the Strength 5 or the Strength 6 on the Tesla and stuff like that, being able to have that +1 to wound, you're going into Terminators that are toughness 5. Now you can wound them on 3s. So that +1 to wound it's a very, very nice thing. And then we have the strat for 1 command point to be able to re-roll wounds. So if you do have a 10-man brick of Immortals and they are targeting a specific target that might be a little bit above their pay grade to be able to take down, with Anakar and the stratagem, they can at least chip away and do some chip damage that unit may then not be able to answer the Immortals. Because remember, if we can eliminate the direct threats to our army in certain areas, we don't have to wipe everything out. We just need to damage it enough that it stops being able to catch up with our reanimation protocols. At that point, we just keep rebuilding and keep building back into higher numbers. So that's important, and I think that he could be cool with Lich Guards. I don't think I'm going to run him off rip because of the fact that, like I said, I want Orkan in there. Emotech is one that I'm thinking about. That's already 2 epic heroes. I can't see taking that spot up for him again and for a squad of Immortals because I'm not really actually planning on running Immortals. His second ability is it's effective because it never fails. You target a vehicle within 12 inches, and then do you do it or they do it? That unit must pass the leadership test. If they pass it, then that vehicle has -1 to hit. The vehicle shoots at -1 to its ballistic skill on its guns, -1 to hit for it the next shooting phase on you. If they fail it, then that vehicle is not eligible to shoot at all. So very swingy, not something you'd base the game off of. The +1 to wound is really nice. Only going on Mortals is kind of wimpy. I think that because he's an epic hero and he can't take any of our enhancements with some of the other named characters that we have, i.e. Orkin, and wanting to make sure we get those enhancements where we have them, I don't think he's necessarily going to make the cut. And I also don't think necessarily there's going to be too much focus on Immortals. Looking at Necron Warriors, I know they're like 12 points a model because it's like 240 for 20. And then the Immortals are 140 points for 10, 70. So not too bad, a little bit pricey. I mean, considering you have 140 points for 10 Immortals, it's 190 points for 10 Lich Guard. So yeah, Lich Guard. You're going to hear that so much. Vanguard O'Brien, such a disappointment. So he used to be one of the kings of the meta because he would go with a unit and that unit could pick up and teleport over to where Xandric was and all these other shenanigans and games where he could get in real close, and they have just taken everything away from him that made him cool. So he can still join a unit that this model can be attached to a unit that has Nemesis or Dread Xandric, even if let's see, this model can be attached to a unit even if Nemesis or Xandric has already been attached to it, if it is that bodyguard unit. Okay, and then all the bodyguard rules. So it doesn't say in here. So the one thing is that he is not a noble. Okay, so he is not a noble, and because he's not a noble, I think that would be the trigger that means you could not put a Cryptek with him as well, because the Cryptek says you can specifically only join a squad if there is a noble or Royal Warden in that squad already. So I think he probably is the reason it bypassed it. So what do you get for bypass? Well, you give the squad fight first. Not bad, but again, he's taking up that Cryptek spot that could be Feel No Pain or a 4-up Invuln. And while this model is in the same unit as Xandric, character models in that unit have a 4-up Feel No Pain. So he's giving him and Xandric a 4-up Feel No Pain and keeping them alive. I don't... no. He's, again, epic hero, not being able to take the enhancements. He's not as good as Orkin. So that's a little disappointing, but he used to be really cool, but what are you going to do? Not everything's going to be that great. Luminar Xeris. Luminar Xeris is interesting. So Luminar Xeris is not able to join a unit. He does not have the leader ability, but instead he gets a 4-up Feel No Pain. As long as he's within 3 inches of a Necron unit, he gets lone operative. So basically this guy functions like old character rule. He has to be within 3 inches of a unit and not the closest within 12 inches. So he basically functions like old character rule in a sense. Except if you get within 12 and there's another unit closer, you can target him still. Because it's lone operative. While a friendly Necron battle line unit is within 6 inches of him, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, improve the armor penetration characteristic of it by 1. And each time that attack targets a unit, I'm sorry, the unit is within 6 inches. Each time a model in the unit makes an attack, improve the armor penetration characteristic by 1. And each time an attack targets that unit, worsen. Oh, sorry, I just jumped over the word worsen. So basically, this gives you armor of contempt and gives them, it gives you +1 AP. So it's a good ability. It is a really nice ability. It's used on battle lines. So this means that like Necron Warriors, Immortals, and stuff, those 2 units can get a lot of extra boosts for their damage. And this is actually important too. How much does he cost too? Because he's actually an interesting beacon. He's 220 points. Ouch. he's kind of expensive. He's got to, I mean, he's has things that can do damage, but they're not really, that's not the intent. The Eldritch Lance is strength 9, -3, 3 damage. If you shoot with it, it has 3 attacks. If you swing with it, it's got 4. And then he has Impaling Legs for 4 extra attacks. And then if he, and this is the thing, is his last trigger is if he kills destroys a model in combat, he can add 3 inches to the range of its mechanical augmentation. Necron unit is within 6 inches of model each time a model in that unit. Okay, so that is a really strong aura. That is really strong. That he can plop down in the middle of some guys and give them reduce the armor penetration by 1. Ow, that's vicious. 220 points. And then at the end of the fight phase, the model destroys 3 inch range until the end of the battle. So all you got to do is get him to destroy one thing. Ooh. Xeris. I think the basis on if you take him or not is how much you got in your battle line. How many warriors are you running? Because now you're looking at warrior squads that have a 4-up save, that if they're in cover, they get +1, so they get a 3-up save. And then you're reducing AP1 to AP0 now. And you're able to have your AP1 back on your Gauze Flayers just because of Xeris. Ooh, I'm gonna keep him in my back pocket. We're gonna think about him. Depends on it. I mean, solely depends on if you have no battle line, then you don't run him. But that's interesting. And he's not something. So because he's a character, yes, he's a character, but he's not a character that's joining a squad. So it doesn't matter as much that he can't take enhancements because that's not going to matter for him. He's just a beacon. He's a beacon and a weapon, and we're going to see that with a couple other units too. But that's a interesting ability. Transit Madness. While this model is Xandric. So what Xandric does if you take him? Transit Madness. While this model is leading a unit at the start of your command phase, you roll a d6 and on whatever it's the d3 result, and you give the unit one of these 3 abilities: sustained hits, lethal hits, devastating wounds. And then he has the counter tactics. Once per battle, after your opponent uses a stratagem, if this model is on the battlefield, it can use its ability. If it does until the end of the battle, the CP cost of that opponent must pay for that stratagem increases by 1. So the time your opponent uses the stratagem, it's still going to cost 1. But then every time after that, it's going to cost 2. So your opponent might only need to use that stratagem once. So you have to use it sparingly and hope that your opponent has a stratagem that they want to continue to use over the course of the game, or maybe a 0 CP one that targets a specific one or something like that. You're going to need that strat. Second thing, his other ability, it's too random. What the ability that you need and you want on the unit when you need it, you're not going to know if it's going to be there or not. While being able to proc devastating wounds onto a unit, because as well as the unit that he's leading, which would have to be Warriors, Immortals, or Lich Guard, it's not reliable enough. And not even with the Lich Guard, I don't feel like that's reliable enough to really be able to make him worth it and then take Oberyn or take a Cryptek. It's neat, but I don't see it there. Trazyn. Trazyn is a good one. And this is another reason why I start looking at the epic heroes and going, okay, I don't want to take too many. He's pretty cool. So Trazyn, his stats, nothing impressive there. Same Overlord stats, roughly. His weapon, nothing too impressive there. It's like a Tesla weapon, strength 7, AP 0, D3 damage, cool D3. Sustained hits D3, so it can, when you hit that 6, it can pop for an extra, quite a few attacks. It's a fun gun. It's a fun melee weapon, fun stave. Now, what you take him for. So he has Ancient Collector and Surrogate Host. To put this all together for you, he can join Immortals, Lich Guard, and Necron Warriors. He is a noble, so a Cryptek could still go in with the unit he is. I don't think you would take a Cryptek with him. If anything, I think you'd take him by himself, put him with something like an Immortal squad or a Necron Warrior squad that's more doing backfield work or something like that. He gives sticky objectives. He gives that squad sticky objectives. So so what I like with him is late in the game, if he dies, when you don't necessarily need some of your Cryptek or Feel No Pains and some of that stuff, when he dies, he can take over that, replace that character in the unit, and now he's leading that unit. Now he's part of the leader in that unit. And it's a Necron infantry character model on the battlefield, excluding Scorpack Lord, an epic hero. Ha! He can replace the Locust Lord. So you could actually get this guy into onto different units that he normally couldn't. So you could get this guy onto Necron infantry character. Yeah, you could get this guy onto a squad of Locust destroyers, and then that squad of Locust destroyers now has sticky objectives for the time being. I like that as a late game play. I like that as a late game tool to be able to bounce him over to a unit that's holding objective. Boom, give it sticky. Boom, get him off there. And so the start of your command phase, if the model is on the battlefield, you can select one other friendly unit model on the battlefield. The selected model is destroyed, and the model is put in place. Oh, okay, so this isn't if you kill him. He just teleports. Start command phase if this model is on the battlefield. I'm sorry, I thought, because previous editions it was, oh, when he died, he would go over there. So no, he has to still be alive. So you basically just kill a unit off, kill a model off, and he teleports over and takes its place. Still not bad. Still not bad. Because, I mean, this is a way that you could get him, I mean, even as a leader, you don't have to attach him to a unit. So you can just put him on the battlefield, put him in a back corner, and later on in the game, boom, he takes someone's place in sticky objectives. I mean, might be kind of still hard play for him. I might be pulling at the heartstrings that I want to get Trazen in there. He's only 75 points. I mean, he's cheap. He's cheap, so you could do that. He has to be leading the unit to do the sticky objectives. So that's a big important thing. But again, the only character that he can't take a place of is Epic Heroes and Scorpek Lord. So Locust Lord. So anything else that is being led by something else that he normally couldn't go to, that's a nice way to get him out there. You know, after your Lich Guard beat up someone and take an objective and they're standing there, boom, you kill off one of their characters in there, their lord or whatever, and bring him over there, sticky it, and move on to the next target. Not some bad plays there. Royal Warden. Royal Warden, I feel like he should have been the lieutenant. He's cool. He is not a noble. That's why it says Royal Warden or noble unit. So I feel like he should have been the lieutenant. His blaster is pretty cool. It's got 2 shots, strength 5, AP 1, 2 damage with lethal hits and rapid fire 2. So quite a bit of shots there. It's pretty cool. Especially just to have an extra gun attached to it. But you're taking for his abilities. Adaptive strategy. While this model is leading a unit, ranged weapons in that unit have heavy and assault. So the heavy is kind of redundant because command protocols give you +1. Yes, if you get into a situation where you're shooting at something that is -1 and there's many things that you do, then you still at least get your +1 in those scenarios. But if you do not have that +1, then this is redundant. Assault, very cool. Being able to advance and shoot with whatever that weapon is, and being that he can join Immortals and Necron Warriors, there are some guns in there that it's nice to be able to keep on the move. But again, I personally, I want that Res Orb. I want a Res Orb, so I'm not necessarily sure he's going to be leading many of my squads, if any of my squads. He is definitely probably a good target for Veil of Darkness, though, to be leading into a squad and have him have Veil. If you have a squad that maybe doesn't have a Resurrection Orb and you want to go with him, not too bad there. His second ability is once per battle at the start of any of your phases, you can select and this is the start of any of your phases, you can select a 1 Necron unit that is battle shocked within 12 inches, and poof, it gains its morale and it heals. That might be the biggest reason to take him, especially because it's any phase. So you can do it in the movement phase. You can do it in the reinforcement phase. You can do it at the beginning of your shooting phase, at the start of any of those phases. So very, very, very cool ability. More I talk about him, I'm actually starting to like him. All right. Scorpek Lord. Scorpek Lord, I like it. I like it. So first of all, we're looking at, I think he's $125. Yeah, $115. 115 points. Scorpek Lord. In all honesty, he is the 7th guy. He is the 7th man on your Scorpek unit. So the Scorpeks, as we're going to see later on, they combined all the weapons. So now there's no difference in any of the weapons. They're all the same stat line. They have 4 attacks apiece. So some of that stuff kind of hurts. They got a little bit weaker in that damage output aspect. And the plasma sights are now tokens that you attach to the unit, and for every 3. And then when you use the ability, you pop it, and they get the boost for their attacks at that time. For the the unit entirely. So having the Score Pack Lord in there gives you this extra ability to be able to, this guy that's able to take this extra ability. So we'll look at it real quick. Once per battle plasma slate, this ability is gives you devastating wounds. So you're looking at the unit having devastating wounds. This guy gets devastating wounds. What's he getting devastating wounds on? Well, his Flensing Claw is 8 attacks, 2 weapon skill, strength 6, AP 1 damage, or you have the option of the hyper phase harvester, which is 4 attacks to hitting on 2, strength 10, AP 3 damage. The first thing I like is go with the big swing, you're still hitting on 2s like that. Having the devastating wounds, kind of cool to be able to have those force through. And again, this is the 7th guy. That's what it basically is you're giving a 7th dude into your score packs. He's cool, 115 points, isn't too bad. I'm going to run one with my score packs leading them. His abilities personally that he gives, while this model is leading a unit, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the lethal hits ability. So now you have lethal hits and devastating hits. So what does that mean for lethal hits? If you hit lethal and you have devastating wounds, I think you bypass. I think that you don't get, because I think it's just automatically wounds. So you're not, even though you're automatically wounding, you're not automatically getting a 6. So a critical hit is not also a critical wound. I don't think. I'll have to double check. I don't think that is. I'm gonna assume right now it's a no. If I'm wrong, that's even more disgusting because that gives you basically 2 chances to hit a devastating wound roll. So I don't think that's how that works. But I will definitely double check. I want to double check that and make sure. And then his second ability is each time this model ends a charge move, select one unit that is engagement range width of this model and roll a d6. On a 2 through 5, that unit suffers d3 wounds. On a 6, that unit suffers d3 plus 3 mortal wounds. So again, just more damage, more damage, more damage, more damage, more damage. And him with the plasma sights, with the score packs, with the lethal hits, with the devastating wounds, this is a unit that can hit like a truck. Unfortunately, we don't have our 1 command point ignore wound strat anymore. So, or ignore 1 CP reduce -1 to wound strat anymore. So it makes them a little bit weaker. We also don't have the Chronomancer kicking over an invuln. Score packs don't have an invuln. The score pack Lord we're talking about has an invuln. Miles in his unit makes melee attacks. You can ignore any and all modifiers. So you can ignore the modifiers. That's cool. You're going to be able to ignore the modifiers because that's what the score packs bring in as their ability. They're shredding. They're going to shred things, but expect to probably lose the squad after. Score pack Lord, he could probably survive through. He's got 6 wounds and a toughness 7, so you might see him for a little bit longer. But they're a unit that you probably want to keep behind terrain and let them move around the outside. The less damage they can take, the better they're going to be. Especially because they're not going to be able to have a resurrection orb per se. Catacomb Barge could help with them a bit, but they might end up being too far away from the barge. So 1 command point stratagem after they get hit, you can reanimate a couple in there, D3 plus 1. That'd be probably a good target for them. They're a little fragile. Got to watch with them. Because it's not quite as strong in some of our other reanimation stuff that people might be prepping for. Again, though, these guys are some solid damage. Locust Lord. Locust Lord is pretty cool. I like him a lot. So the bit loadout I like with him is going to be taking the Resurrection Orb and putting him probably with a squad of Locusts, regular Locust Destroyers, 6 of them. He has a Staff of Light, Strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. It's the Staff of Light, 3 attacks. And then in combat, he has the option of the Lord's Blade or the Staff of Light. If you take the Lord's Blade, you're dropping the Staff of Light. So he is 4 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage if you choose to take the Lord's Blade. Locust Lord is coming in at 85 points, so it's very cheap, very cheap. A lot of our characters got reduced in points down under 100, so that's going to help. When the unit that he's joining, if he's leading a unit, they get critical hits on a 5-up. But locusts have 3 shots apiece, and they have lethal hits. So with them, 5s are automatically wounding. Pretty cool there. Each time this model makes an attack that targets an enemy unit that's below half strength, you can reroll hit rolls and you can reroll wound rolls. Now, specifically, it is him. He does that. That's his ability. The Locusts, I think, have a very similar one. I think theirs is just rerolling ones, though, for the exact same effects. So they're not completely left in the dark, but that's specifically for him when he's doing his thing. Probably give him the combat weapon and the resurrection orb, just so that if you do get into combat with me, I have some possibility of taking you out. And the only unit he can destroy and can lead is destroyers of the Locust kind, whether they're heavy or regular. All right, the Lord. So the Lord is, first of all, I think he's like 50 points, which makes him makes me smile, especially with a lot of stuff I'm talking about. 65. 65 points. He's a noble. No invuln. So he's going to be kind of a possible precision weapon character thing. Because remember, we got to keep precision weapons in mind. Precision weapons are very real, so we need to keep those in mind. While this unit is leading a unit, you add 1 to move characteristic. Okay, not huge, not great, not bad. While this unit is leading a unit, you can target the unit with stratagems even if it's battle shocked. Okay, so I'm hoping to not have that be the case, but okay, cool, you can still do that. And then the Resurrection Orb. So the Res Orb, basically, Res Orb lets you do a reanimation protocol during your opponent's command phase. So if he's with warriors and you're on an objective, you're D3 plus 3 for that turn with those orbs. That's going to be a trend for all the Resurrection Orbs. All right, Catacomb Command Barge. Catacomb Command Barge comes in with a toughness 8 and 9 wounds. Its defensive ability now with the Quantum Shielding is that it subtracts 1 from the to wound roll. So this is cool because now with the T8, if you get shot at by bolters, they need 6 to wound. If you get shot at by strength 5 to strength 7, they still need 6s to wound. Bolters need 6s to wound. So they have to have a strength 8 weapon or higher to start to get off of 6s to wound. At strength 8, they're wounding you on 5s because you're still reducing it by 1. Then when they get to strength 9, now they're looking at 4. So now they need to get to strength 16 to even to wound you on 3s. Now we're kind of getting into ridiculous weapons to be having to shoot at a Catacomb Command Barge. So he only has 9 wounds. So if they do hit you hard enough, he will break. While a friendly Necron unit is within 6, they add 1 to their objective control characteristic. Cool, I like that. He doesn't have lone operative, so again, he's going to be able to be targeted. He is a vehicle. He does have reanimation protocol. That's cool. He can heal. And then he has a resurrection orb, and his works a little differently. At the end of your opponent's command phase, select 1 friendly Necron infantry or Necron mounted unit within 6, and that unit reanimates. The unit reactivates reanimation protocol. So you get to select a unit and do the resurrection orb on multiple. So this has a little bit of a wider coverage. It's very durable, very, very durable, and definitely could see some play. Now, aggressively, it's not as good as it used to be, but still, needless to say, I mean, you can give this a centripetal weave and have a 4-up feel no pain, and that's not going to move. So that's a nice way to, if you're having trouble getting resurrection orbs on some stuff, that's a nice, easy way to be able to do that with a unit that can just kind of hang out in the backfield and just kind of float around a little bit. I have been in consideration about him if I don't go as heavy with some of my orbs and try and do different characters. But I mean, resurrection or all the warriors free there, I don't see any reason why not just loading up on res orbs just for the characters and the units as well. Like the overlords, like just overlords in general. Overlords coming in at, because we're about to jump into them. Again, I said, what was the overlord point cost? 85. 85 point for an overlord versus 65. So you're paid. This is what you get for 20 more points. First of all, you get a 4-up invuln. I think that's huge for precision weapons. Second of all, this guy will have 4 attacks in combat with his Overlord's Blade, which again, that's the way I'm going to end up going because you have to replace the tachyon arrow Replaces the Tachyon arrow, can be replaced with one of the following weapon: Overlord Blade, Staff of Life, or Void's Eye. So I'm going to take the Overlord Blade, and that's going to replace the Tachyon arrow. The smallest thing. The model is not equipped with a Tachyon arrow, then you can take a Resurrection Orb. And that's the other thing is because I want the orb. So he takes the orb, again, that reses a unit. He's got the stats. He has 4 attacks. He has that strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage. And again, for that 20 points more. His ability, my will be done. Once per battle round, 1 unit from your army with this ability that's targeted with a stratagem for a 0 CP. So now you can target your units that he is with for a stratagem for 0 command points. If you have, even if you have already targets, you can use the same stratagem twice. So the stratagem to shoot back, you can use it on a unit. You could use it on him for free, his squad for free, and there's just that's massive value. And then his second ability, like he needs a second one. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from that attack's damage characteristic. I think that is massive because there's a lot of little precision weapons that have 2 damage. He has 6 wounds, so if they get 3 shots on him, boom, he's dead. Nope, now reduce it all by 1. You need all 6 shots. And reanimation protocols to be able to heal. Yes, 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 yes. Overlord, 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 Overlord. I love him. I love him, and I'll take him, and I'll take him with the Overlord's blade and his devastating wounds, and he's just going to run up the field. He's going to mop up some Marines for me. And now we get into the Cryptex. So, first one we're talking about is the Technomancer. Technomancer was a staple of 9th edition as one of the best healers in the game, probably. Right up there with the Chief Librarian, except he could put models back without having to use a stratagem. When he used a stratagem, he would be able to put 2 units models back in them. And he's putting D3 warriors back, so man, he was a beast. So, first things first, the one thing before I go into what he does. He's got the Staff of Light, Strike 5, AP 2, 1 damage. That's not why you're taking him. Cryptex have a 4-up save, toughness 4, and 4 wounds. Again, that's not why you're taking him. This guy goes into Immortals, Lich Guard, or Necron Warriors as the squads he can join. And because now we get into the Cryptex, where these guys can join even if there is a Royal Warden or Noble already in the unit. So these guys roll into that Lieutenant column that we've seen with Marines. The one thing is that I want to bring up is this model is equipped with a Staff of Light and a Canoptic Cloak. So initially, when you take this model, so if you're using like an app to create things, keep this in mind. Initially, when this model is taken, you have a Canoptic Cloak. Now, the Canoptic Cloak gives the bearer fly and the lone operative keyword and a move characteristic of 10. So you're going to have to drop the Canoptic Cloak and take the control node to be able to put him in a unit. Okay, again, all the war gear is free. And the Technomancer comes in at a big, massive 60 points. Again, really good, really cheap, really easy. What he does is if he is leading a unit, that unit gets a 5-up Feel No Pain. The other ability that he has is at the end of your movement phase, you can select 1 friendly Necron model within 3 inches of the bearer. That model regains up to D3 wounds. Each model can only be selected with this ability once per turn. So, want to break that down real quick for you. At the end of your movement phase, you can select 1 friendly Necron model. Anything. Silent King, Monolith, Tank, doesn't matter. Necron unit. Here's the other thing. The intermove one, it says you can select 1 friendly Necron model. Catans are Necron models. He literally can heal anything. These guys are you're still going to see a bunch of them all over the place. The only limitation is the fact that you can only take 3 of them. I mean, realistically, there's going to be a lot of times you're going to probably see armies that have 3 Technomancers, and you're just going to, okay, so those units have Feel No Pain, and you got your healers as well. I think 2. I think 2 is a good number that I like. Psychomancer, unfortunately, this is a very, very cool model. I enjoyed painting him up. I think he looks great. I wish he was better. So, again, he has the same units he can join: Immortals, Lich Guard, Necron Warriors. And his Abyssal Lance, while it has a good damage profile, strength 6, -1, 3 damage, he has 1 shot and 1 attack in combat that hits on a 4. So, nothing impressive there. Then when we get over to the Nightmare Shroud, which is his aura, while the enemy unit is within 9 of him, you subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic, and then at the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy unit that's within 18 inches of this unit, and that unit must immediately battle shock. So you're going to be closer because you want the -1 leadership. So if you're within 9 inches of this unit, that unit is an immediate threat. Battle shocking it at that point is probably not enough. So I don't really like him. I don't really like him. I feel like there's way better cryptex to take, and I feel like he's not good at all. Chronomancer. Chronomancer is definitely not as much of an auto take as he was before, but he's not by any means bad. So the Chronomancer now, he only has the Aeon Save, no more Entropic Lance. Sad. Aeon Stave has Blast for D6 shots, 5, -1, 1 damage. And then in combat, it's 3 attacks. No Tendrils, so we lost that too. Kind of sad. All right, so what does he do? Well, now the unit that he's leading is -1 to hit. Okay, that I can see some scenarios where that's not necessarily bad. The one thing is you can only take 3 Technomancers for the Feel No Pains. So this is another very good defensive ability to use adjacent to your Technomancers in other units. His other ability is the Chromonotron. In your shooting phase, if this model's unit has shot, in your shooting phase, after this model's unit has shot and is not within engagement range, the unit models in this unit can move 5 inches. If it does until the end of the turn, they are not eligible to charge. Okay, it looks cool, sounds cool. It's really not that big a deal. With big squads like Necron Warriors, how much are you really going to be able to make out of that 5-inch move? I can see it being kind of a neat thing to help you get closer to objectives, especially because we do have some slower units. So it's cool that it's there. I think that the Time Splitter Mantle, the -1 to hit, is the reason you take this guy. The Chromonotron, to be able to shoot and scoot, is a just, oh, okay, I got this ability as well. I think the Time Splitter Mantle is strong enough to justify taking him by himself, by taking him to join a unit. Plasma Lancer. Plasma Lancer, I'm getting excited to work on these guys and finish painting them because I do think these guys are pretty cool. Where exactly? Not sure. Again, the same Immortals, Lichguard, Necron Warriors that they joined. His gun, 3 shots. Still got a Ballistic Skill 4, which tends to be the thing for Cryptex. 3 attacks, Ballistic Skill 4, Strength 7, AP 3, 2 damage. Okay. In combat, 2 attacks with the same stats and profile. So not bad, 18-inch range. Okay. But again, with Cryptex, that's not why we're taking them. This model, when this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, a successful unmodified hit roll of 5 up scores a critical hit. Okay, so while this unit is leading a unit, each time a model in the unit makes a ranged attack, successful unmodified 5 up scores a crit. These units, the Lich Guard and the Immortals, all the Warriors, or not the Lich Guard, they don't have range attack. The Warriors, the Immortals, the lethal hits. This is now a easier time at that 5 up. So this is the first reason that you would take him. Second one's also pretty cool. In your shooting phase, select one enemy unit, and it's when 18 inches invisible, roll a d6 for each model in the unit, and on a 6, that unit suffers a mortal wound. Okay, so big brick of, you got 20 Termagants over there. Here, I'm going to roll 20 dice, take a couple mortal wounds. Now I'm going to shoot at you with a squad that has lethal hits 5 up. I like him. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. He's got 2 usable abilities. So kudos to him. He's coming off obscurity, and he's now someone that we can talk about and have a conversation with. All right, so I'm not going to jump into the characters, into the units just yet. We still have a couple more characters. Oh, here we go. The Hexmark Destroyer. I love this guy. This guy is the little, this guy reminds me now of the destroyer drones from the Star Wars movies, the balls that would roll in there. That's what I see with him. So first of all, Hexmark comes in with a whopping 5 wounds, 3 up save, toughness 5. I know, 5 wounds, just kidding. So the pistols that he has now, do not generate more shots. Instead, they are precision with an 18-inch range, 6 shots, ballistic skill 2, strength 6, AP2, 1 damage. Okay, precision shots though. So he is hitting on 2s, strength 6. So when you go in there and you shoot into a unit that might have the T5s for some of the Marine units in the sense, that's some good damage to be able to put on a character and possibly take out some of the littler ones. You know, like we've seen with the Cryptex having 4 wounds. Here's a really good one that helps. On top of that, what else do you get with this guy? So he is a lone operative, which makes sense. That's kind of how he worked before. Once per turn, 1 unit from he has deep strike. Remember this. Once per turn, 1 unit in your army with this ability can be targeted with the Fire Overwatch stratagem for 0 CP. Boom. You can also use this again. You can use this on him if it's already been used that time in the phase. Boom, boom. And the last piece of it, he fires Overwatch. He hits on 2s. Ouch. This is a Sentry turret. Deep strike it down and say which one of you wants to move, and then shoot some shots into him and possibly pick off the character before the character gets to do what you're doing, what he needs to do. Now, granted, you can only use this ability 1 time. It says once per turn, 1 unit from your army with this ability can activate it. So you can only do this once per turn, use this ability once per turn, but still very cool. I think one of these is great. A great take, a great choice. And on top of it, you also have the multi-threat eliminator. Each time an enemy unit targets a friendly Necron unit that is within 3 inches of this model with ranged attacks after the enemy unit has shot, this model can shoot as if it were the shooting phase. So once again, you hit my friends, I'm hitting you. And that's what it does. I like it. I think I'm going to enjoy running one. Is he going to make it fully to the competitive fold? Don't know yet. I can't 100% say that. I just need to get him out there and have some time and see how he functions on the battlefield. So we have 4 more characters to go over real quick. First one, the Catan Shard of the Deceiver. Okay. So the Catans, I'm not going to talk about their defensive stats for each one of them. Let's just talk about it right now. So all 3 of the named Catans have 12 wounds. They have a toughness 11 and a 4-up invul. So that's a good start. Now, they are Necrodermis, which in the previous edition would give us the wound cap. Well, wound cap is gone. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, have the damage characteristic of the attack. So what this basically translates to is we're looking at a toughness 11 model. So you need strength 6 weapons or above, or you're wounding him on 6s. Okay? So the 1 damage weapons that we would not reduce the damage of with these guys are needing 6s to wound. And once you get to 7, then you need 5s. So if you have strength 7, 1 damage weapon, that I don't think that's going to be a popular profile for 7, 1 damage. It'd probably be 7, 2 damage, and then you're dropping it down to 1. So now any of the 2 damage weapon that might be floating up there, you're still dropping it down to 1. For this guy, you have to at least have a strength of 12 to wound him on 3s with your weapon. And then even if you're a flat 6 damage, that's cutting you down to 3. That's cutting down to 3 damage. These guys do have reanimation protocol, so they will be able to heal D3 during the turn. And so that's really nice. And now these guys are monsters, so they're not that. Ooh, wait, didn't we say the command protocol just targeted a Necron unit, and that Necron unit can just reuse? Nope, Necron infantry. Oh. Or Necron mounted. Okay, Necron infantry or Necron mounted. So you can't resurrect your North these guys. But still, D3, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome ability there. And then the stratagem for Undying Necron unit from your army. Hold on 1 second. So the 1 Necron unit from your army that had 1 or more of its models. So you can't do the Undying Legion on that because it has to remove the model. Okay. Thought we might have gotten tricky with it. No. So it's safe. It's only 3 wounds, so you can up to D3 you can heal back. But again, it's up to D3, and halving damage means these guys do have some resilience and do have some play. Starting with the Deceiver. So what does the Deceiver give you? Well, the Deceiver gives you stealth. It gives you Cosmic Insanity as its like Catan power that it has, which is an anti-infantry 4-up for devastating wounds and precision. This guy has an 18-inch range, strength 6, 6 attacks, ballistic skill 2, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage. So that is still, now because of the fact that it's 1 damage, he can't absolutely just vaporize a character, but still, devastating wounds, anti-infantry 4-up, so you're getting mortal wounds through on a 4-up. That is still very, very effective damage on a character, being able to really make it scary and possibly let your Hexmark be able to finish him off pretty easily. Golden Fist, strength 8, AP 3, 3 damage. So again, not the world ender for vehicle things. And then he has Grand Illusionist, which allows you to select up to 3 units and redeploy them at the beginning of the game. After both players have deployed their armies, you select up to 3. And then, or you can put them in strategic. You can put up to 3 in strategic, and it doesn't count against your maximum that you're allowed to have. Pretty cool. Not too bad. Little good character damage. Not great character damage, but good character damage. He can do that. For his points with Grand Strategist, so looking at just Grand Strategist, the big bulky of what he is, and his damage output on characters, the Deceiver is coming in at 265 points. I'm thinking that's a little pricey for what I want to do. Nightbringer. So Nightbringer did get nerfed. He no longer just straight up ignores invulnerable saves, as you can probably expect, but instead he does have devastating wounds. So at least your 6s to wound will be, for him, D6 mortal wounds. So again, all the same defensive stats. His ability, at the end of your fight phase, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. On a 4-up, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. So it doesn't heal him. He does have reanimation, so he can heal himself. First of all, let's start with the point cost for this. 255. So he is actually the cheapest of the Catans, and it kind of shows. Number 1, he only gains the D3. He doesn't have any other stealth or defensive ability. Like where the Deceiver has stealth and the Void Dragon, we'll talk about him in a minute, him being the most expensive of the 3 at 270 points, and it does show, and there's some goodness there. So Gaze of Death is a blast weapon. It's only his D3 shots. However, that is D6 plus 3 damage. It hits on 2, strength 12, AP 2 for D6 plus 3. So again, it's blast, so that can go up if you have larger units to get a couple extra shots in there. So this is that's not too bad for taking out some tough dudes. So you have some of these units that have like, but they don't really have, you don't have like 5 multi-wound things. You have a couple like, he could be good into like Custodes with the like the Dawn Eagle jet bikes, but everything else kind of a little bit excess in damage, D6 plus 3, especially when you start to get that blast moving up. And it's originally only D3 shots, so if you roll a 1 and then you only get 1 more and you got 2, it's kind of wimpy. The Scythe, again, because he's not just ignoring the mortals and it's devastating wounds, you need the 6s to get those. Only 6 attacks, not as reliable as he was for killing just big things as he used to be. And then you have the Sweep profile, which does give you 14 attacks at strength 8, AP 2, 2 damage. The Sweep profile is very nice. It doesn't have devastating wounds, but it is still very nice. The Drain Life ability, honestly, I think that's one that you really even wouldn't want it to happen, but just because you don't want to be in that position at the end of the fight phase. And it's only a 6-inch range, where like Emotech was a 12-inch range, his is only a 6. All right, Void Dragon. Void Dragon is pretty powerful. He's pretty tough. So the Void Dragon has the same defensive stats. His other kind of defensive perk is going to be Matter Absorption. So at the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy vehicle unit that is within 12 inches of this model. Just within 12 inches of this model. Does not say and within line of sight. So you can do this from behind a wall. Roll 1d6. On a 2+, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds, and the model regains up to that many lost wounds. So this guy can start draining the life out of vehicles from behind a wall and healing himself, as well as reanimation protocol for an additional d3. Makes him a little bit tougher. So that 270, again, this is why he costs a little bit more than the other ones. Spear of the Void Dragon is one of his range weapons. Anti-vehicle 2-up. So the spear it's funny. So the spear is only a strength 4. So if you fight with this thing in combat versus infantry versus a monster, he only or when you throw this thing, it only has a strength of 4 as a chuckable weapon. Okay, but against vehicles, again, anti-vehicle 2-up, so it'll wound on a 2-up. It is AP3 and it is D6 plus 2 damage. So that's a strength 4 weapon that if he hits you with it, it's going to hit. And again, it's only one shot with that. Then he has Voltaic Storm, which is like his Catan power in this case, so you could do both of these. It is Blast, but this is D6 plus 3. So you're looking at a minimal 4, and then if you have the 5 guys, you go +1, +1, +1. Not too bad. 18-inch range. Ballistic skill 2. Strength 7, AP1, 2 damage. So again, much better for taking out infantry. And then it's also sustained hits 2. So each 6 you roll to hit is going to generate additional. So this is actually really kind of a cool effect to be able to take on infantry. And the Void Dragon looks really strong. Then when we get over to the his combat profile, so his Canoptic Tail, I'm going to do that first, which was the tail attacks. It was D6. Now it's flat 6. You can just get 6. Hits on 2, strength 6, AP1, 1 damage. So he has that additional attack profile over the Nightbringer, where even the Nightbringer's sweep, he gets more individual swings. Not quite as much damage because Nightbringer was all damage too, but we'll get into that. So then the Spear in combat. So you can strike with it, which is anti-vehicle 2-up. 5 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 12, -3, D6 plus 2 damage. So still big hits, big money, big damage against vehicles. And then if you choose to do the sweep, because infantry, 10 attacks. So very nice. Weapon skill 2, strength 8, AP1, 2 damage. I'll take the AP1. AP1 isn't bad. The 2 damage allows me to pick these guys up real easily. My laptop is yelling at me. Its battery is running low. So let's get down to the very last one. So last is Transcendent Catans. Also, again, same stat line as the other one with 11 toughness and 12 wounds. I wasn't 100% sure about that. The 4-up invuln, the Necrodermis, all of that stuff. Very, like I said, same stuff. Now, the difference here is that according right now, the Transcendent Catan is a monster. It is a character. It has fly. It is a Necrons. Yeah, I guess it can take a centruple weave right now. So you could take a enhancement on this thing. There's nothing on this thing. It says it can't be your warlord, but there's nothing that says it can't take an enhancement. So it can deep strike as well. So that's one thing that a lot of the other Catans don't have. They cannot deep strike. So that's cool for the Transcendent. Transdimensional displacement. Each time this model is selected to advance, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally from an enemy. So it just picks up and just picks up, vanishes, picks up, just redeploy all over the place. What are you getting for that? What are you teleporting? Okay, so Seismic Assault is only 6 shots, but it is sustained hit 1. It is Assault, so even when he advances, he can still shoot. I mean, that would be pretty bad if he couldn't. It is Strength 8, AP2 for D3 damage, with a ballistic skill 2-up. In combat, he is the Crackling Tendrils with a sustained hit of 1. Same before, still sustained hit 1. 8 attacks, weapon skill 2, strength 9, AP3 for D6 damage. So pretty decent damage in combat. I mean, comparable to Nightbringer, except for the fact that except he doesn't have the devastating wounds and not quite the profile. But that's still, it's 8 attacks with it. Again, the Transcendent Citan, we're looking at him real quick, is 280 points. He is the most expensive out of the individual Catans. Obviously, the Tezzeret Vault, let's just look at it real quick. Tezzeret Vault coming in at 425, and we'll talk about him when we get over to the vehicles. I don't like that. I don't like that. I like what I'm looking at. That's pretty cool teleporting around, but that seismic assault only being like 6 shots. You know, maybe you hit one of those and so you get a seventh shot on it. Strength 8 AP2 D3 damage. I don't, with the base size in it, I don't think he's getting in there. Okay, you give him a centriple weave and that stuff, and now you're looking at a 300-point model that, yeah, it's got to feel no pain. I just don't. I don't see that. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I know a lot of people are really enjoying him, but I am definitely not a fan of that unit. So there is one last model slash unit that I want to talk about for these guys. Is hopefully my computer will cooperate. If not, I'll have to go and jump over to the data sheets. And this is once I can find this guy. And that unit is the Crypt Thrall. So while I'm scanning through here and trying to find, hopefully it's not early on and then I passed it up, which probably is. Yep, definitely is. So let's see if we can get up there. Silent King, we're going to talk about him during the vehicles and stuff like that. But the Crypt Thralls. So the way the Crypt Thralls work, let's talk about how you take them first of all. So you get 2 Crypt Thralls in a unit. And what the Crypt Thralls can do is they can join a Cryptek basically, and in a sense are kind of almost like war gear. So you can join 2 Crypt Thralls to any unit that has a Cryptek already in it. This is awesome. I mean, there's right now I can see, and I'm glad that I have 6 Crypt Thralls, because these are also going to be something that you take them with every single one, every single Cryptek, because everything they give is just absolutely amazing. So you get 2 Crypt Thralls. Each Crypt Thrall is not a character, and that's very important. They're infantry Crypto Thralls. Necrons, they have reanimation protocol, and they also have a 4-up feel no pain. Their weapons is a Scouring Eye. It's a 6-inch range. Basically, they give you the Cyclops effect. They look at you, they gaze at you, and hit you with a laser beam. Ballistic skill 4, strength 5, AP 1, 1 damage for 2 shots. In combat, strength 5, AP 1, 1 damage for attacks in melee. Okay, cool. That's not what they're there for. So what you take these guys for is, first of all, they are, laptop just died. So first of all, they are 2 additional bodies. That's 2 extra guys in your Necron Warrior Squad. That's cool. That's huge. Secondly, they give your Cryptek a 4-up feel no pain. So now if you do get hit with precision weapons, you are safe from your Cryptek just getting removed like that, because these Crypt Thralls are there. And lastly, as I check this real quick before I bite my tongue on it, because unfortunately my computer was just barely not able to make it there. They give you a 4-up, Cryptek has a feel no pain, and then, they have Fight on Death. Fight on Death obviously not being that big for the Crypt Thralls, but okay, cool. What's cool with them is that they also have that, like I said, they have a 4-up feel no pain. So when, excuse me, when your unit gets hit, and your warriors get hit, your Lich Guard get hit, these are 2 extra models in that unit that have a 4-up feel no pain with a 3-up save too. So those things are all stats that you can use in even when you're getting hit by other stuff. So I really, really, really like these guys. I think that this is another staple that we're going to see a lot of. We're going to be using a lot of Crypteks, a lot of different Crypteks. And it's basically a sense of, you're just going to take 6 of these guys, and which units are they going to go into? You're going to have 6. You're going to have 2, 3 2-man squads, and you're just going to drop these in units with those Crypteks. They're 2 extra guys. And I think that I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot in conversations already when people are talking about units. The first thing that people say is, hey, you're missing your Crypt Thralls. I think some people are scared because they maybe not have held on to theirs from the previous edition. Maybe they need some Crypt Thralls. Maybe they're looking at those leader boxes going, man, that's how I get them. So I'm happy I kept my 6. I always loved those guys. I thought they were cool models, and I really love the aspect of just attaching them to units. I think it's going to be awesome. All right. Well, this video definitely went a bit longer than I wanted it to, but we went over a ton of character data sheets that we have. The next videos we're looking at is we're going to go over the all different Necron units. So that's when we're going to get into the Lich Guard, the Mortals, Wraith Scarabs, all those things. And then we still have the vehicles, which finalize with the the Transcendency, or the Transcend, the Tezzeret Vault, which is definitely a popular unit, the Monolith, and the Silent King, and how those things are going to play out, and what we can see from those big point sinks moving forward within the edition. All right, guys, it's late at night. This has been a longer video than I wanted to, so I do apologize. Doing what I can, but I'm excited to talk about these guys. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.